In this expression, in this presentation, what we're going to do is looking at inverting functions. So essentially, what we have, if we're given a function f of x, what we have to do is find the inverse function of that, f to the minus 1 of x. Okay. Now, just as a sort of quick remark, this is actually sort of important for something I'm going to mention soon. Well, a function of x essentially maps some value in the domain to some value in the codomain. The inverse function, f to the minus 1, maps a value in the codomain to the domain. Sort of, what's that about? It's in a sort of important matter later on, because it's sort of, it explains a sort of a trick that you use here. So, steps. First off, given a function f of x written in terms of x, okay, what we do is we arrange the equation such that x is written in terms of f of x. So essentially we reverse the orientation of the expression. That's the sort of, we'll sort of talk about that shortly. The second bit here is we replace, when we have that done, we replace x with f minus 1 of x and f of x with x. And again, this is the point of this is we're rewriting the expression from the point of view of the codomain. I'm not going to get too much more into that, but essentially there is a sort of rationale to it. It's not a very arbitrary thing to do. It's just it's essentially we're sort of given the instructions in reverse, essentially. So you just have to change the vernacular or the terminology accordingly. Okay, so let's get into it. So, example 1, f of x equals 3x plus 1. Now, this is a function, f of x here is given in terms of x. So we have f of x here is isolated, and we have an expression here that's in terms of x. What we're going to do is change that round. So what we're going to do, first off, subtract 1 from both sides. Okay. And now we're going to divide by 3. So that's the sort of steps we take, okay? And so that's step 1 done, but now we're going to replace terms, or replace the terms essentially. So we're going to place f of x with x, so we have x minus 1 over 3, and x with f minus 1 of x. Okay. So that's was a simple enough example. Let's do another one here. And let's get my page going. Example 2. F of x equals square root of 2x plus 5. Okay. Let's square both sides. F of x squared equals 2x plus 5. Subtract 5 from both sides. And then divide by 2. There we go. And now let's just replace our values here. So we have x squared minus 5 over 2 equals f to the minus 1 of x. Okay, so that's the answer to the second one. And one more. I'll do a tricky one this time. So this is example 3. And this is sort of deliberately hard now. So f of x equals 3 to the power of 3x plus 1. Okay. And no, I'll tell you what, I'll just make it, that's a bit too hard now. So just 3 to the power of x plus 1. Okay. So first off, what do we do here? What we have here is logarithms. Okay. So a is equal to b to the power of c. Essentially what we could do is rewrite that as log of a to the power of b. Sorry, log of a to the base b is equal to c. This is a sort of different matter. I'm going into logarithms here, but essentially this is a sort of roll under approach that you could sort of the b sort of rolls in. It's a sort of a little trick called the log roll, and it's essentially you just bring x plus 1 down, or the c value down, Sorry, let's do that again. The C value goes to where B was, and B sort of rolls in under the log. It's a sort of silly little trick called the log roll, but it's just how you sort of remember um, how to rewrite a logarithm really quickly. Also, the power has to be on the right hand side as well, so it has to be A equals B to the power C, so the C has to be in there for the log roll trick to work. So let's go to our f of x equals 3 of x plus f of x equals 3 to the power of x plus 1. Let's do the log roll. So that's log, so the 3 goes under the log, and the x plus 1 comes down. That rolls down to where 3 was. Okay. What we could do now is subtract 1 from both sides. Log of 3 f of x minus 1 equal to x. And what we could do here also is, essentially that's it. There's actually rules of logarithms that you can use here, but for what we're going to do, I'm just going to there's a couple of rules of logarithms, rules of powers that you can use here. I'm not going to do that this time, but they are valid and they do work, and you can use them here. But I'm quite close to a nice, easy, workable solution, so I'm just going to leave it there. What we're going to do now is replace the f of x with x minus 1, and that is equal to f minus 1 of x. Okay. So that we leave that as our answer. Okay, and we could there's other ways you can express that, but essentially we're happy enough now. That'll do. So that's a couple of examples of inverting functions. The log roll thing is actually quite a nice little memory trick. Okay.